Another one bites the Donald dust out of the administration, gone out to pasture, and it is no surprise considering the pressure that has been mounting. Donald Trump wants you to believe that he is inevitable, and everyone in his administration is shielded and protected by his power, and that is not the case. And we saw it tonight as a member of his administration has been ousted and did so on their own accord. Now, it came after a lot of pressure, but it is important in recognizing the role that the rule of law can play in moving Donald Trump and breaking his plans apart. And we are going to get into that person who is now out of the administration. But it starts with what Rachel Maddow predicted about that individual, Lindsay Halligan, just a few short days ago before we get to her ouster, why she's leaving the administration, and so many implications for what this means about the Epstein files as well. But it starts with Rachel Maddow's prediction, a little scoop that led to a big score that we're going to get to. But first, Maddow.
All right, this involves both a scoop and something to watch out for tomorrow. Back in September, the White House put pressure on Trump's handpicked U.S. attorney in the Eastern District of Virginia that he had to bring charges against former FBI Director James Comey and New York Attorney General Tish James. Trump's U.S. attorney in Virginia quit in response to that pressure. So Trump replaced him with Lindsay Halligan, a White House aide who had never before prosecuted a case. She actually did manage to bring charges against Comey and Tish James for a hot minute before a federal judge dismissed the charges, finding, among other things, that Lindsay Halligan had been illegally appointed to that job, that she was not, in fact, the U.S. attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia. The Justice Department's appealing that, but apparently the administration has nevertheless been trying to resurrect the case against James Comey anyway, and now they have failed at it again. Today, MS Now's Carol Leonnig and Ken Delanian were first to report that Trump's Justice Department has fired now the second in command under Lindsay Halligan at that U.S. Attorney's Office because he also declined to pursue the Comey case. And this is maybe not the best time for Lindsay Halligan to be without a second in command in that office, because get this, in a totally different case, a different federal judge has ordered that Lindsay Halligan has until tomorrow to explain to the court why she is still going around calling herself the U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia when legally and plainly she is no such thing. The judge has ordered that, quote, Ms. Halligan shall further explain why her identification does not constitute a false or misleading statement. The judge says that could, quote, constitute misconduct and be grounds for discipline. Again, she has to explain why she's still calling herself a U.S. attorney. That response from Lindsay Halligan is due tomorrow. Watch this space.
So Lindsay Halligan is a first-class dingus. I think that can be your big takeaway from this all. And later in this video, we're going to watch a clip of her defending slavery. So you can also factor that into the reporting from Rachel Maddow. But this has kind of been Donald Trump's plan all along. He likes putting in the yes men and the yes women who fit the part. It is why we never saw Elise Stefanik get that far in the administration, because she wasn't certainly blonde enough. Also, I think Donald Trump prefers, let's be honest, that you're taking copious amounts of Ozempic. I think that we can tell by Kristi Noem's bird legs that there might be some malnourishment going on there. I don't like to comment on people's, actually fuck that. I do like to comment on people's bodies when they are degrading, like their souls are degrading. The Lindsay Halligan fit the part, but the problem that Donald Trump continues to run into is that when you put together a bunch of stupid yes men and women, sometimes they do stupid stuff and it ruins your plans and they are incompetent. And sure, they're a lot of fun on Fox, but that doesn't get you what you want. And it continues to prove again and again and again that these conservatives who say that they're going after the establishment and they're going after the criminals, we're getting Obama, we're getting Comey, we're getting Clinton. Has it happened yet? You got to be really dumb to be a MAGA supporter for so many different reasons. But one of the most obvious, and I think under-discussed, is how many times Donald Trump has promised to lock someone up, and he has failed. Lindsay Halligan promised, and she has failed. Pam Bondi promised, and she has failed. But it is the reason that this individual, there's so many other words that I can use, this idiot, is no longer going to be doing her job. Now, Lindsay Halligan tried to push back against the pressure, but it has now become too much. And it's that interests me so much, the way this article broke it down, but why she's exiting the administration. Lindsay Halligan, who as a top Justice Department prosecutor pursued indictments against a pair of Donald Trump's adversaries, is leaving her position, Attorney General Pam Bondi said Tuesday night. Halligan's departure followed a pair of extraordinary moves by two federal judges who issued court orders Tuesday saying that they intended to replace Halligan at the helm of the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Eastern District of Virginia and threatening disciplinary sanctions for any government lawyer who continues to refer to her as U.S. Attorney in legal filings. So, of course, Lindsay Halligan got the effective boot. She was effectively kicked out of her position because judges were saying, if you continue to call yourself the U.S. attorney, or if anyone else does, there will be action taken, right? So she did technically have to leave on her own accord. She had to quit. She wasn't fully fired. She left because of pressure. And it's that type of pressure that we need to accomplish so much more of the accountability that should come in the rest of this Trump administration. Accountability for Pam Bondi, accountability for, of course, more of the lawyers working under her in the Justice Department, like Todd Blanche. That is what needs to happen, right? Because right now, Ro Khanna and Thomas Massie are moving forward with sanctions against Pam Bondi, right? That would cost her personally, with the suits that they're bringing, about $10,000 a day. But Pam Bondi is probably getting money for Donald Trump to cover that. Honestly, Donald Trump is probably promising money to Pam Bondi, but isn't going to deliver on that because he's a scam artist. But Pam Bondi doesn't care about $10,000 a day. I know that sounds like a lot of money. That's a lot of money. But Pam Bondi doesn't care. Some right-wing billionaire will pay it off. Some guy who's on the Epstein files will pay it off. But it's important to realize that the pressure that these courts, that these judges can put on Trump administration officials is actually moving them. Again, Donald Trump wants to present to you this idea that he is inevitable, that you cannot stop him. It's the same thing that's happening with European leaders right now. Donald Trump telling NATO that we're gonna blow past this decades-long alliance in pursuit of Greenland, and there's nothing you can do about it, but there is, because these people are weak and they are susceptible to pressure. Lindsay Halligan was. Again, she could have and probably would have at the beginning of this administration when they were defying court orders, when Kristi Noem defied court orders to send innocent people to El Salvador, they probably would have just said, F you, we don't care. But that's not what's happening now. That is a marked shift. That is a big deal, that they are now susceptible to this pressure. And I think it is important to realize that they are targeting lower level lawyers, DOJ officials, all down the line as part of this pressure campaign. It's a good little tidbit for Democrats. Eric Swalwell says this, and I applaud him for it, when he says to every Republican staffer on the Hill, the MAGA deep state in the DOJ, the Trump-occupied DOJ, we're going to come for you. If you're defending pedophiles alongside Pam Bondi, we will come for you. And when you start to break what's underneath, and there's no foundation to hold up Pam Bondi in her house of lies and obstruction, the bottom falls out. And that's what happened with Lindsay Halligan. Again, this was an effective booting out of office, but she did have to leave. She did have to quit. That's the pressure. That pressure is important. That pressure should be used by Democrats. We should be speaking in the language that MAGA understands, which is threatening them overtly. We will prosecute you. Elon Musk, Kash Patel, Pete Hegseth, Kristi Noem, Stephen Miller, the big names, of course. But if you're working for those people, lawyer up as well. And we can get them to quit en masse, if we can get them afraid, if we can get them questioning just a little bit and slow things down, that's what it takes, because the real oversight begins, of course, after the midterms. But as much as we can delay until that point, that's a huge win. And I think that's the type of pressure that we need to be applying, because again, they only speak the language of intimidation. That is how Donald Trump has been able to keep his goons in check for so long. It's strictly intimidation. It's what it is. And so that's the way that we have to approach this, especially on the Epstein files, especially as we are more than a month past the deadline for the release under the Epstein Files Transparency Act that Donald Trump signed. That's the type of pressure that we need to apply, and we can boot out more Lindsay Halligans. And I promised you I would show a ridiculous clip of her, because I think we should celebrate this exodus a little bit more. Listen to the way that Lindsay Halligan talks about slavery being taught in schools.
Classrooms shouldn't be stages upon which teachers can preach their various indoctrination masquerading as eternal truths.
Excuse me? What? What? I think that's the only reaction is what? I think we missed an opportunity, and I think Democrats should come back to this, because there still are all the crazy right-wingers who go to school board meetings and scream about white guilt and how their children aren't oppressors. I think we should take those crazy people and make them what folks think about when they think about Republicans. People wanting to get up in your shit, who want to dictate your lifestyle, who don't live it themselves. I think we have an opportunity to take crazy and out of control and in your business and make that the brand of the Republican Party. And I really think we should. I think these types of people are the Republican Party. And I think that would be tremendous for us to have the average American thinking that what Republicans want to do is get involved in your kid's day-to-day life and get involved in your day-to-day life. That ICE will come knock at your door, that they'll bust it down, that they'll invade your privacy, they'll steal your phone data. I think that is what people should think when they think of the Republican Party. And that's what they're beginning to think, considering that the outlook for the midterms is only getting worse.
Yeah, okay. The answer is that the party that does have a motivation problem is the Republican Party, okay? You know, this I think sort of tells the story. Extremely motivated to vote this election cycle. You go back to October of 2024, just before Donald Trump was reelected. Hello, Republicans led on this measure. 67% of Republicans, or those who lean Republicans, said they were extremely motivated to vote in 2024, compared to just 62% of Democrats. Republicans felt like, hey, we're going out for ice cream, like a child going out for ice cream. You come over to this side of the screen, Republican enthusiasm down. Now they feel like they're going to the dentist. Just 50% of Republicans say they're extremely motivated to vote in 2026, compared to 66% of Democrats. That's actually up a little bit. So Republicans are depressed in terms of their motivation compared to Democrats, and very much so compared to Republicans back during the 2024 cycle.
Yeah, those are the numbers that I like to see. It makes me very excited. You gotta smile a little bit looking at that. We're allowed to have a little happiness on this show. We're allowed to have a little joy, and I'll be bringing that to you as often as possible. And if you want to support that and stick around, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video. If you stuck around at the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. Keep on fighting, y'all. Don't let them silence you. And until next time, I'll see you soon.